Hi, I'm Anvesha Thakker, partner and national lead clean energy, KPMG in India. Today I have Debmalya Sen from World Economic Forum. Deb leads Advanced Energy Solutions with WEF, and today we'll be talking about the topic India's energy storage momentum. Is it time to recalibrate and pivot? India is today one of the most exciting markets in energy storage globally. We are seeing unprecedented level of activity in this space. Almost 60 gigawatt hours of storage tenders have been in pipeline in the last 1 year alone. And if we talk about projects that have completed construction or are in various stages of construction under DPR or under award, we are talking about a total of a humongous 140 gigawatt hours of storage opportunities that we are seeing in India alone. We are sitting on a time that we have never ever seen before. And I would really like Dave to come in and talk about what's really driving this acceleration, Dave.
Thanks, Anvesha. I think a number of factors, one, of course, the ask is huge, right? We are talking about 47 gigawatts of battery storage capacity by 2031, 32, along with around 26 gigawatt of pumped hydro. Almost from nothing, what we have today is just 219 megawatt hours of battery storage and 4.9 gigawatts of just pumped hydro, right? So it's nothing. And the ask is so much. So I think uh, because the ask is so much and India needs that to, sustainably integrate so much 500 gigs from non-fossil fuel energy. So, and this has been ably supported by the global price decrease that has been seen over the last 6 months, not even a year, right? Over, if you look into the last 6 months, a 55% decrease in just cell costs has happened, which has of course percolated down to what you see at project level costs, right? So batteries has gained from that. Along with that, a lot of government initiative, policies, regulations, which have been drafted over the last, I think, 5 6 years, is finally bearing fruits, not only for batteries but also for pumped hydro, where you'll see a grown impetus again back, right? So I think all of this together, the demand as well as the supply, has given rise to this momentum.
Amazing. And I mean, if you even look globally, there is a trend that is expected of almost 20% year-on-year growth. And we are already seeing very large markets like, US, EU, Australia. They are coming up with large tender storages, right? And these are also either in hybrid modes or standalone mode. So how do you really see the comparison between what we are doing in India and what's happening globally?
I think, India has often taken this leapfrog kind of a moment in technologies, be it lights in form of LEDs and others. So if you look into how it started globally in for storage, you will see that it starts with the frequency kind of application, powered applications, where the requirement would be 13 minutes to 30 minutes at max, not more than that. So that's how Australia started, US started, Europe started. And that is the ancillary market. And when that market saturates, then you see it moving over to energy kind of applications. And we have been seeing that globally, that revenues from ancillary market have started to reduce. And that is why today you will find US, Europe, Australia, they are moving over to larger duration of storage of 4 hours or 2 to 4 hours, where the new keyword that is coming out from various articles is 4 hour, the new 2 hour kind of a solution. But
Yeah.
India, if you see, India directly leapfrogged to energy kind of application. We started, our first tender was a 4 hour of application,
Right.
right? Why is that? It's not, it also because the ancillary market in India was not that developed. So therefore, the use case directly started with energy kind of application. But also, what has been seen is the rate at which our peak load is increasing. The peak demand has been increasing at what, 8%, 9% rate. And to cater to that, I think you need more of energy applications than power applications. Not that you don't need power applications, but yes, the demand here is more. So globally, I think the trend now is moving from 1 hour duration to 2 to 4 hour duration. And we find not only lithium ion, but also others slowly and steadily coming into this game.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Deb. And my conversations with my colleagues globally, they're amazed at the kind of innovation and leapfrogging that India has done. I mean, the kind of opportunities that are there, the way solutions have come forth, whether FDRE, standalone, this multi-stacking that's happening. I think that has been completely awesome. And I think in this area, we can definitely become trendsetters, if I may say so, for the world. You talked about the price decline, and of course, a lot of that has been really instrumental in the kind of spike in activity that we have seen in this space. What's your view going forward on the sustainability of this price decline?
Thanks. So this is a very interesting question, right? It's not because much of stationary storage, The price decline is because of the global oversupply that is happening for batteries. And that is related to increase that EVs has seen. The last 2 years, EVs have grown to around 66%, 80%, right? This year, the growth has just been 20%, which is not bad if you look into it. But then the expectations were just huge. And what this has led to is that it has led to a lot of oversupply. No, and it doesn't really start from the manufacturing, it goes back to mining. Everything from mining to processing to manufacturing is in oversupply today. Now, batteries is a commodity which you cannot store. As soon as you manufacture, its degradation starts. You have to get it away. And that is why you will see globally there are players who are selling batteries at negative margins today. Leave aside profit, they are selling at negative margins. So and what people see is that this oversupply situation does not ease out anytime before the next 2 years. So you will see this price going down, but at the same point of time, there are news coming up that companies who are masters in this game are closing down on mines to create an artificial, supply demand situation. But will that help? Not much, right? So I think over the next 2 years, I see this decline going, not at the rate that we have seen it in the recent history, but by 25 or early 26, it will kind of stable out. So yes, while price decline will continue, um, it's also a bit on upon how sustainable this price decline is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely agree to what you're saying, and I would probably be a little circumspect in talking about a continuous price decline, because of the reasons that you stated, that it is not all technological declines, but also more a demand supply dynamics which can pick up, which can change. So, I would say that companies do need to assess and analyze the situation very closely as to, especially on the demand supply side, what is happening,
Yeah.
before taking their, big leaps over there. And it has to be a little bit of a calibrated approach. But that also brings us, probably to the other side of storage technologies, which is pump storage.
Yeah.
And, honestly, Dave, I know that your favorite are batteries is batteries, but I do feel that pump storage is a great technology, and it doesn't have to be either versus or, right? It has to be both, because the pluses of pump storage is that, of course, that you're looking at a largely indigenized supply chain. Of course, whether we have the capacities to deliver this kind of an unprecedented scale of development that we are seeing is another thing. But if you look at it, both pump storage as well as battery offer a lot of flexibility, can be used for different kind of applications. Of course, battery has an edge for applications that require a faster response.
Mm.
But if you're looking at applications where the load curve is flattish and you need to do large amount of energy shifting for more than, say, 5 to 6 hours, pump storage can be better in terms of
Yeah.
feasibility over there, and also the volume of, or the large amount of power that it can store. So from some of these aspects, I think that India needs to kind of walk in both the pathways over there as far as energy storage is concerned. Of course, the downside is pump storage can take it has a longer gestation. There are deployment considerations, that you have the right land available to,
Yeah.
are you able to create those upper reservoirs, lower reservoirs. So all these things are there. So any change in views, Dave, from the time that we've worked together and you were like a big strong advocate of batteries?
So I keep telling this to everyone, I don't know why people love to make these two technologies compete. They don't compete.
Correct.
We need both of them. The use cases are so different for batteries and pumped hydro that you will see that we need both of them in the energy mix. And the rising example here is China, there is this concept growing up where you have renewables supported with pumped hydro and batteries, all three coming together to give you a better essence of what we today call as round the clock renewables, right? So I think the beauty of pumped hydro is in that region, as you rightly said, it is the 5 hour, 6 hour, where he's the king. No one can touch him. Okay, there are tenders globally where batteries has been a winner even at 8 hours, but equally pumped hydro has been a winner even in 2 hours. Let's not forget that. But those are outliers. The main application for pumped hydro is in the, as you said, 5 or 6 hour range, because no one will build a pumped hydro for 10 megawatt capacity, right? It will always be at the gigawatt range. So I think, yes, both are required and they don't compete with each other.
I'm very happy to say that I completely agree with you. If, okay, let's pivot to some of the new technologies. You are an avid, follower of all the technologies. What are some of the bets do you think, that industries can take, and what's looking really promising in terms of new technologies out there?
Thanks. I will just concentrate this on the stationary side and not on the EV side, because again, a full box opens up when you talk of EVs. In the stationary side, beyond lithium ion, there are two technologies in the near term which are looking promising. One is sodium ion, the other is flow batteries. Right now, sodium ion to a lot extent has the advantages that lithium ion has, that it not only gets used in stationary storage but also finds application in EVs. Now we need to understand that 85% of battery demand just comes from EVs. It's just 15% that's stationary storage. So any technology which will find application in both sides will be much better placed. And that is why sodium ion looks to be the next competitor to lithium ion. And then you have flow batteries, which finds a very sweet application in the 4 to 6 hour or 8 hour window. Do we have them on scale today? We do not have them on scale today. So, but are they operational somewhere? Yes. Where? No doubts on the answer. It's China, both flow batteries as well as sodium ion, right? But yes, we what we see today is these two are will be competing with lithium ion. That said, this gentleman here, lithium ion, is someone who has been innovating day in and day out, right? We have been seeing continuous innovation here. Now, just LFP, we have a new thing coming up called LMFP. The only disadvantage of LFP was its energy density. Now, with manganese being doped, that is getting improved. And then a whole innovation is going on the anode side, which was untouched till now. It was graphite anode. That is slowly changing to silicon and then lithium anode. So you see what is happening if lithium ion is also innovating, and it has advantage of economies of scale. These technologies will find it very difficult to fight with a lithium ion, because this gentleman is just not sitting, he's innovating every day. So yes, that said, we find around 10% of sodium ion penetration towards the end of this decade, not sometime soon. Vanadium, it will, but not sizable, at least in this decade.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I would think that that's also a kind of, a via media that that India has to look at, especially in terms of supply chain
Yes.
vulnerabilities. Because while India is doing magnificently on the manufacturing side in terms of, the sheer number of projects that have been announced or under construction, that have been awarded under PLI schemes. I mean, at the last count, and if we put all of these together, we're looking at almost 120 gigawatt hours of,
Yeah.
storage, battery storage manufacturing capacities that have been announced in
Yeah.
India. Right, so that's humongous. But the key issue always is that will the upstream part of the supply chain, the procurement, will it keep up? It shouldn't only be assembly. And here, I think the technology diversification that you spoke of, which reduces dependence on, on materials like lithium, would be, a very, very important factor. Anything else that you can think of that, that industry really needs to take into account as far as supply chain is concerned?
Thanks. We are today talking about manufacturing, right? We are talking that we will get anodes and cathodes and then manufacture it here. But what we forget is, if we go further upstream, there is another gentleman who has kept a lot of juice, and that is where China's control really is. That is processing. Now, no matter where you are mining these metals, you have to send it to China to process, who controls 90% of processing. And then you get it back from China to, kind of manufacture them. So in this way, when you look into competitiveness, China already has that competitiveness. Now, that is a space where we have seen recently Indonesia and Africa actually walking up. Can we create that? If we are mining it here, why don't we process it here? Why are we sending it off to China? Okay, that is the thing that is happening. But the more important question is, do we really require to domesticate everything? Because that will just increase the cost to a lot more level. Can we kind of find these partnerships or collaboration with other countries? Suddenly, there has been this discussion of China plus one. But why is that? Why can't it be many, right? Why is always China plus one? So I think India is good in some things. There are other countries who are good in some things. Can we collaborate and then do it? Because then, the essence of cost that we are talking about will be much better seen than than a world where everyone wants to do everything altogether. So, Anvesha, there was this one question which often comes up, and I would love to hear it from you, because I always have my own favorite, but I want to hear it from you, that who should own these energy storage in India? Should it be the utility, private developer, or independent operator? Who, and rather than who, where is the benefit coming from?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and that's something that's very close to my heart. And this is something that I think that we need to talk about more and more. The thing is that all models will grow, okay, and all models have to be there and focused on by side to side. But I still feel that the bulk of storage needs to be with the entity which is able to utilize and sweat that asset to the maximum. And that can only happen if, say, a utility comes in and owns the storage asset, because then the utility can multi-stack. It can layer the revenues, using multiple applications, whether it is ancillary, whether it is grid balancing or peak shaving, energy shifting. So what that allows, and of course, technology comes in a big way over there to be able to optimize the battery storage between various, applications. But that really improves the returns and the utilization of the assets. But when we kind of ring fence the storage within a particular tender, say a
Mhm.
solar wind, a battery hybrid tender, then what happens is that that storage capacity is committed
Yeah,
for basically integrating that wind and solar, and it cannot be used for other applications unless the tender specifically allows you to do that. So that ring fencing doesn't allow the maximum amount of sweating that can happen
yeah.
on that asset. So while of course I do see, as I said, all models growing, but I think going forward, definitely focus has to come in on the utility ownership over there. So what's your view over?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing these modelings for these recent tenders, and what we find is you cannot optimize if these assets are with the developer end. You cannot optimize it to after a particular point.
Correct.
But then, just imagine if the developers were free to bring their own renewables, and this storage was stationed at the DISCOMs. Just imagine the amount of optimization that it would have, and exactly what you said, revenue stacking, all these things can be much better realized. But yes, we need a bit of capacity building there, as well as awareness from these utilities, and I think.
Yeah, and I believe we'll get there. I
Yeah.
think the thing is that we always learn along the way, and the requirement is so huge in India that there is still a lot of path that we still need to tread, and of course we will do it in a very optimal manner. I'm very confident of that. So now let's come to the investor's perspective, and a question that I'm often asked is that what are the key risks that investors and developers should be bearing in mind when they're looking at this sector, and what could be some of the mitigants?
Thanks. I think one risk which is not there today, at least, is technology. But that said, I think we need to be cognizant that these assets' life is of 12 years or 15 years at the max. So what after that? I think recycling, second use, and waste management of these batteries should be something that we need to think about from today. Otherwise, after 10 years, we will not have any clue what we will do with these batteries. So that is one thing. I think a lot of development is happening, but the pace at present is not to the tune of the requirement. So reuse, recycling, second use, all these things, these business models, they are there, but they are not profitable. So we have to see how we can make these models profitable going forward.
Absolutely. And I think that how recycling and a circular economy can also help is reduce dependency on the raw material imports as well, right? And if you're
Yeah.
able to recover a lot of these, materials and minerals like lithium ion, the dependence on imports also declines substantially. So that's one element where I would love to see a very defined roadmap coming into India. And I'm sure that that's around the corner, but yes, we
Yeah.
look forward to it. So I think, Dave, you and I can keep talking about this subject forever, but all good things have to come to a temporary end. And I look forward to, deliberating on some of these issues and other fora also with you. But I think if I'm looking at the topic that we set out to discuss today, which is recalibrate and pivot, from our discussions, I feel that at least a couple of areas where the government definitely needs to think about, and even industry for that matter, is the ownership of the battery or the storage. Who owns it for maximum utilization and maximum returns? Second, when we are looking at supply chain, the upstream part of it, the strategy on the upstream components, procurement, that has to come along with, a lot of these plans that are happening around, manufacturing for battery storage. Third, looking at indigenized, technologies like pump storage, we need to quickly understand how much of capacity gap there is, right?
Yeah.
Whether it is in skills or manufacturing, because the opportunity is humongous. Are we in a position to really deliver to the ambition that we have? We need to assess very fast. Fourth, I would say that when we are looking at, for instance, battery, the whole supply chain, the recycling and end of life element is something that we are not talking about much. But the scale at which we are looking at deployment, I think that both as a opportunity as well as a risk, for instance, has to be looked at and a roadmap needs to be created. Anything else, Dave, that you would like to add?
I can't agree more to what you said. All of them super agreed. Just one point to add here, or rather two. One, the opportunity is huge, but we also need to be very careful that we need to develop skill sets as well as the competencies at to that level, right? That is somewhere I find a bit of deficiency. We need to tackle that very, very fast. And second, till the time we use these batteries for a single use application, we are not utilizing the battery for what it is known best for, multi-stacking. I think that has to come in. Costs are declining, right? So just imagine, rather than a single application, if that battery was used for three, four application, where will this cost go? So yes, I think that is what I would look forward and I would love to see in the days to come forward.
Yeah, Sai, Dave, I think these are the two things that definitely need to be looked at. And thank you for bringing up the skill sets point. Definitely, that's something that India needs to focus on as well. So, with that, thanks, Dave. And I hope the viewers enjoyed this discussion. And we do look forward to having Dave with us in many such platforms. And don't forget to join us for ENRich, our annual conclave. We will have the 15th edition of this in Delhi on October 23rd and 24th. Do not forget to register. See you.
Thank you.